If you're watching this video, the chances are that you're a parent who's worried about their child's learning, and I want you to know that you're in exactly the right place. So I'm Laura, and I'm a qualified dyslexia specialist, a former teacher and a Senko with over 23 years experience in UK schools. And I'm the director of This is Dyslexia and This is NeuroLearning. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you something that completely changed how I think about reading difficulties. It changed how I support children, and for the families that I work with, it's been genuinely life-changing. So please watch this short video all the way to the end, because what I'm going to share with you is not about more tutoring, more phonics, more worksheets, or more practice. It goes so much deeper than that. So let me get straight into letting you know about this fantastic neuroscience-based reading intervention, because more practice of the same thing is just not working for so many children that I see. So let me describe some patterns that I see again and again in the children that I work with and see if any of these resonate with you. So does your child read slowly, even when they're trying really hard? Do they avoid reading aloud? Do they go quiet, make excuses, or find reasons not to do it? Do they miss or forget instructions, things that were said out loud or written on a page? And do they tire really quickly during reading or language tasks? Not because they're lazy, but because reading feels genuinely exhausting to them. Do they struggle with phonics, with breaking down longer words? If you're nodding along to any of those, I need you to hear this, and I mean it sincerely. These are not signs of low intelligence. They're not signs your child isn't trying hard enough. And they're almost always the result of how the brain is processing information, not how hard your child is working. And once you understand that, everything changes, because if it's a brain processing issue, it can be addressed directly. So to understand why this program works, I want to briefly explain what actually happens in the brain when we read, because it's much more complex than most people realise. So reading isn't a single action. It's actually a four-step process that happens in a fraction of a second. First, your eyes see the words on a page. Then your brain processes the visual information, the shape and the patterns of the letters. Then it assigns the sounds to those symbols. And finally, it puts all of that together to create meaning. So 4 steps, all in the blink of an eye. And for skilled readers, this happens automatically. They're not even conscious of any of it. But here's what happens with a dyslexic or struggling reader. They can experience difficulties in one or all of those steps. And when that happens, what should be an automatic process becomes an enormous amount of effort, of conscious work. Think about what that means for a child sitting in a classroom trying to read. They're having to consciously manage every single step of a process that their classmates are doing without even thinking. So of course they're exhausted. Of course they start to fall behind. And of course they find it stressful. And this is not a motivational problem. It's a neurological one. And that's precisely what this program targets. And this is where it gets really exciting. Now, here is something that neuroscience has firmly established over time, and it completely changes the picture for every child who struggles to read. The brain is not hardwired, it's not fixed, and it can change. And this is called neuroplasticity. And it means that the brain has a remarkable ability to reorganize itself, to build new neural connections, and to develop new pathways at any age with the right kind of targeted stimulation. So every time a skill is repeated correctly, the neural connection that supports it gets stronger. And every time a new connection forms and gets reinforced, it becomes automatic. It shifts from conscious effort in the background to the background of the brain's processing system. Now look at these 2 images. On the left, you can see a typical reader's brain during reading. 3 key areas are active and well connected. And on the right, you'll see the dyslexic reader's brain. The back brain pathways are weak and underused, and instead the brain is over-relying on the compensatory frontal read, working so much harder to get a less efficient result. And this is backed up by neuroimaging research from numerous scientists. So this program is specifically designed to build those efficient back brain reading pathways, not to compensate around the problem, but to actually fix it at a neural level.
Neuralign leverages years of fieldwork and neuroscience research to unlock your child's reading success in a fun way. The Neuralign is a 40-hour program and includes cognitive therapy, reading exercises, and speed reading. What makes Neuralign computer game-based program unique is that the games train the auditory system, the visual system, and the motor system together, because that's what the brain needs for skilled and automatic reading. During the cognitive therapy part, we address the auditory processing speed in the form of acoustically modified sound to rewire the brain so that students can accurately hear the difference between the sounds within words. We work on visual processing skills and ocular motor skills development with translucent and opaque moving graphics. Neuralign also addresses the eye-hand coordination and motor skills. Our approach is multisensory because fluent reading requires multiple systems to work together with split-second timing. Reading exercises bond what has been corrected from the cognitive therapy program and reinforce timing, spelling, fluency, and comprehension skills. During the program, we give rewards to motivate students to persist on their way to success. We know it works because 99% of students improve reading by at least 2 grade levels in 40 hours.
It helps your mind to put the words and the sounds together, and somehow then it makes sense to you and it becomes easy, it becomes part of you.
Every child has the potential to learn. It is up to us to give children the tools they need in order to move forward in their lives.
Now, I hope you found that short video about the software interesting, and I'm going to be adding much more than just access to the software. So what makes Neuralign genuinely different from anything else out there is that it simultaneously targets the auditory, visual, and processing systems. And these are the 3 brain pathways that must work together for fluent reading to develop. And best of all, your child experiences this as a game. So there are 3 parts to the programme, and each one builds on each other in a very specific sequence. So part 1 is the cognitive therapy, and that's 15 one-hour sessions completed over approximately 5 weeks. So your child starts with a short placement assessment, which establishes exactly where they need to start from. Sessions are completed between 3 and 7 days a week, but the key rule is that there should never be more than 3-day gaps between sessions, because that continuity is essential for the connections to form and strengthen. So from session 9 of the cognitive therapy, part 2 and 3 unlock. And now part 2 is speed reading, and this runs for 10 weeks of 5 sessions a week, and each session involves reading the same story 5 times, with each read timed to exactly 1 minute. Now, this might sound simple, but it's really effective. By reading the same material repeatedly under time pressure, the brain is trained to read words automatically rather than decode them consciously. And part 3 are the reading exercises, and that's also 10 weeks, 5 sessions a week. And this is where comprehension, vocabulary, and reading enjoyment are built. Stories and interactive games sequence from foundational skills all the way through to complex comprehension strategies. And at the end of the programme, there is a final assessment where you'll see the before and after data, and that's always really striking. And alongside this, you also have monthly meetings with me so that I can track your child's progress. So what does this programme target in the brain? Well, there are 6 key areas, making it really beneficial for students with a wide range of neurodivergent conditions such as dyslexia or ADHD. It supports phonological processing, so the ability to recognise and manipulate sounds of language, which are vital for accurate decoding and spelling. It supports working memory, which is sometimes called the whiteboard of the mind. And this is where all the learning takes place, and the programme directly trains this. It supports visual, auditory, integration, and that is the brain's ability to coordinate what we see with what we hear. It connects letters to sounds, and when this is weak, phonics alone will always fall short. We support the processing speed to be able to retrieve learned patterns rapidly and automatically so that reading becomes fluent rather than effortful. Executive functioning skills, which is the brain's management system, directing attention, sustaining focus, coordinating all of the other systems at once. And it also supports the precise eye movement patterns that underpin efficient reading. So most people don't realise how much visual motor coordination is involved in reading, but it's significant. So this programme works on all of these areas simultaneously, and that's the power of a multisensory approach. Now let's quickly talk about the results. And I think you'll see that these speak for themselves. So students who used Neuralign, the technology behind neuroliteracy, read an average of 50% more words in just 10 weeks. So 50% in 10 weeks, that is amazing. And that research was conducted by the Centre for Applied Cognitive Research. And a separate study found improvements of 2 or more grade levels in word reading, comprehension, phonological skills, arithmetic, fluency. So I want to highlight these 4 things that matter to families. Your child does not need a diagnosis to start. Any child who struggles with reading and focus is eligible and will benefit from the programme. Progress is tracked in real time, so you'll see graphs, you'll be able to watch your child's reading change week by week. This works alongside school, so it doesn't replace what school is doing, it works underneath it, building those foundations that make everything more effective. And it's done entirely from your home. So there are no waiting lists, no travel, no clinic appointments, just consistent structured sessions at a time that suits your family. So let me go through quickly what you need in terms of equipment. Because it is a technology-based programme, it does have some specific requirements. So it will need to be completed on a desktop or laptop, not a tablet or iPad. You'll need to run it through Chrome or Firefox. Both are free to download. You'll need a high-speed internet connection and a good pair of over-the-ear headphones, because the auditory is a core part of how this programme works. And an external mouse is really beneficial. Children find it much easier to use an external mouse than a laptop mouse. And on a practical note, the child needs to be completed in a quiet, uninterrupted space. Sessions run for 1 hour and progress is automatic through the tasks. So once your child begins, they simply sit, focus and let the programme do its work. And these requirements might sound quite specific, but there's a reason for this. The programme works with split-second timing and high quality audio, and that environment matters. So if everything that I've shared today really resonates with you, and if you recognise your child in what I've described and you want to give them access to something that works at the level of the brain, here is how you get started. So I offer 2 payment options, and I want to make it clear that they both have access to the same programme. So option 1 is the pay in full, which gives you 4 months access. Option 2 is a payment plan, which is £110 per month for 4 months. And you'll get full access to this programme, but it's just spread across monthly payments. Both options include the cognitive therapy, the speed reading, the reading exercise, placement test, final assessment, progress tracking, and my personal guidance and support throughout. I set every child up personally, and I'm really involved in this. It's not an automated system where you're left on your own to figure it out. So to enrol, you simply click on the link below this video or click on the link that is on the bottom of this slide now. There's a short application form, and I'll be in touch to confirm everything and get your child set up. So you might be thinking, how can you trust me? Well, let me just give you some of my credentials. So I spent 23 years teaching in mainstream schools. I've been a Senko, a senior leader, and whilst teaching, I could identify that a child was struggling. I could see the patterns, but due to funding constraints and the pressures in the mainstream classroom, I could rarely do enough about it. So I made the decision to retrain as a dyslexia specialist and assessor. I set up my own assessment practice, and I have a centre in Canterbury in Kent. And over the years of working with families, I kept seeing the same thing happen over and over again. A family would come to me with a child who was really struggling. We'd do a thorough assessment. We'd write a detailed report explaining exactly what was going on in that child's brain. And then families would be left holding a report that clearly explains the problem, but no real structured pathway for what to do at home. So that gap between the identifying the issue and actually fixing it is exactly why I created my intervention pathways. So what happens after you enroll? Well, step one, you click on the link below this video. There's a short application form. You choose your payment options and then check your emails from me. Check your junk folder to make sure that the emails haven't gone into there. Step two is I will set you up personally. You'll receive the invoice before we get started. Then once I've received the payment, I'll get your child set up on the programme. Step three, your child will have a link to complete a placement assessment. They'll complete this test that places them at exactly the right level. It isn't a stressful test. It is a baseline test. So it's really important that the child does this on their own so that the programme adapts to support on their specific needs. So step four, the programme begins. So the cognitive therapy starts, 1 hour sessions, 3 to 7 days a week. And the speed reading and the reading exercises unlock automatically as your child progresses. Step 5, we track your progress. You have your monthly meetings with me and we look through the data together. And then step 6 is the final assessment. So you can see how far your child has come in measurable data-driven terms. Now, capacity is limited to protect the quality of support that I can offer. So if you're ready, I'd really encourage you not to wait. And I want to finish with this. So if your child has been receiving reading support, tutoring, extra phonics lessons, extra help at school, and they're still not making the progress you hoped for, I want you to consider that the possibility that it isn't working because it isn't targeting the root cause. And no amount of reading can fix a brain that is processing language inefficiently. So what your child needs is for the brain system that underpins reading to be directly strengthened. And that's precisely what this programme does. So thank you so much for watching. Please reach out if you have any questions. And I genuinely hope that this will help your child, and I'll speak to you very soon.